Now we're going to make a croissant from scratch. Then we're going to do that at home. Now the first thing, I have it in a large bowl for first. I'm starting with 1 cup. There has to be about 3.5 cups. I'm going to be do little by little for those. This is going to be on unbleached or enriched all purpose flour. I'm going to put 1 envelope equals 2 1/4 teaspoons of Rapid Rise Yeast. I'm going to put a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. And I'm still going to be putting about 1 tablespoon of Kosher Salt. I'm just going to give this to make it a little well before I'm going to add it in the warm liquid. Now I'm going to add the warm liquid. I'm going to put about 1 cup of very warm water with about 120 to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to put that right in the well. And 4 tablespoons of melted butter. And we're going to be ready to stir that together. Now you're going to add more flour, 1 cup at a time, or just put it a little by little. You have to add enough flour to make a soft dough. I'm going to show you what the dough looks like to form it in. Alright, I just add enough dough, only about 3 cups, hopefully. If the dough's too sticky, just put a little more flour. That's probably flour enough. Now, we got this nice and soft dough, and I just give that little hands to feel how dough is just be moistened. You want to knead the dough onto the flour cutting board very lightly for 40 times, or either way for the smooth and elastic. I just knead it for 40 times or until you get smooth and elastic. Now when the dough is kneaded, you're going to shape it into the ball. Place it back on the cutting board. You want to cover it loosely with some plastic wrap and let the dough rest for 10 minutes. Now when it's after resting for 10 minutes, you're going to remove some plastic wrap. I always have to make sure to flour the rolling pin. Doesn't prevent from sticking. Now you want to roll the dough into 9 by 13 inch rectangle will flatten. Alright, it just formed a rectangle. I just measure it for 9 by 13 inch. It can be will flatten. I rotate the cutting board 1 by 1 for that. And once that you roll it really flatten for a 9 by 13 inch rectangle, you're going to fold it into third. And lifting one end over the middle and fold the other end. And you're just going to get right through in the middle. Keep it much straighter. Now you want to cover exactly to wrap for plastic wrap in here. And just going to making sure place it onto the cookie sheet. Just make sure to line it with some wax paper. And you want to refrigerate to chill for 1 hour. So I just set it for 1 hour to chill the dough in the refrigerator. I'm going to take out for 2 sticks of that has to be really cold unsalted butter. I'm just going to make sure to get this butter right onto the parchment paper. Or in this case, I'm going to be using for more of the wax paper. And make sure to cut the butter straight through before we're going to form it in about 8-inch square. I gotta use the knife to carefully cut the butter really straight. And you can see how just solid it was. And we're going to roll it out. Make it really flat for an 8-inch square. Alright, I just arranging the butter after I just cut it into it. Will fit long enough to fold it over with the butter. And I just fold the parchment paper. I can also use it anyway for the wax paper, as usually. But you can use more of the parchment paper if you can. Now I'm just going to pressing the butter down. You're going to roll it out with the rolling pin for the 8-inch square. You see, if the butter slips around here from the paper or the parchment or wax, whatever you call it, what I like to do, I can take a chilled butter while it's rolled over and going to pound it with the rolling pin. You can also use a kitchen hammer, that'd be a lot helper. I think definitely it's about 8-inch square, hopefully. And you can see about the wax paper just got peeled off. Now once you roll out the rolling pin to fold in about 8-inch squares with the butter, keep wrap it tightly with more wax paper. If it got slips over, can't stays over, you can cover more loosely with plastic wrap. I'm going to freeze it for 15 minutes before I'm going to finish the rest. Once the dough has been chilled for 1 hour, you're going to take it out of the refrigerator. Then you can go ahead and open up from plastic wrap. Place it back onto a flour cutting board. That is prevents from sticking. I'm going to put a little more. You just want to make sure to sprinkle more flour on top, then rub it over. That prevents from sticking. And don't forget to roll up your rolling pin for more. Then you want to roll the dough very slightly out, wider for it into about 9 by 17 inch rectangle. Right, just roll it, keep it strong, rectangle. I measure for 9 by 17 inches. Instead of 15 minutes, I put it a longer for about additional 30 minutes. You want to take your pressed butter. I'm going to open up. You want to put this on 1/2 of the dough, leaving over 1 inch from the edge. Just like that, for 1/2 inch. Now you're going to fold the other half of the dough over the butter, will close. And just going to dust it on the wet surface and dough with more flour as needed. You can close with your thumb to pinch inside with the dough to seal inside. You're just going to press down the dough so the butter will squish it inside. That goes all around, will spread it over. That will create some ringe. Then you're going to roll out the ringe of the dough. You got to make sure to repeat the process. So once again, I rolled about 9 by 13 inch that we did repeat the process before. So you want to make sure to keep rolling at the same size as the rectangles as you did for that. And you're just going to dust it with just a little more flour as is necessary. So the beginning from the short size, fold 1/3 of the dough over the middle third. So then fold the other end over the firm in a small rectangle. Hopefully, probably it might be hard. I'm gonna see how that goes with. I'm just gonna roll it back, really flatten. Put it back onto the cookie sheet lined with wax paper that we had more. Place it back on the cookie sheet lined with wax paper that we have more. I'm just gonna cover it with more plastic wrap. And back of the refrigerator for 30 minutes. 30 minutes afterward, I'm just going to take it out of the refrigerator, back on the cutting board. You're going to repeat pressing and rolling techniques until the dough is the size of the previous larger rectangle. Now, like I said, for after 30 minutes, I just took it out from the refrigerator and transfer it back to the cutting board and repeat the process, the rolling technique. Until the dough is the size of the previous large rectangle, you're going to fold it into third twice from the short size, and then keep it, press it, and roll slightly. And just keep repeating the process. I just roll it flat. Make sure to stretch for your rectangle. Let's get back on the cookie sheet lined with wax paper. Just going to cover plastic wrap. Let's get back in the refrigerator for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, just want to take it out of the refrigerator. I'm just going to place it back on the cutting board. Then you want to roll it out back and forth to a large rectangle. You're going to fold it out in half. Then you want to press and roll out into a 1/2 inch rectangle. Using a little more flour as needed to keep the dough from sticking. I think that is 1 8-inch thick rectangle. Hopefully it's going to be thin. Now for one corner, you're going to cut the dough diagonally crosswise into evenly individual triangles. But first, I'm going to cut it straight through where the lines go. Okay, you can see with a sharp knife. And see how that goes with when you're making your own puff pastry. Just almost getting turned right for this layer. I'm just going to cut it into individual triangles and see how many that I made for it. We're going to begin with the bottom at the end of each triangle. You're going to roll up towards the tip to form into the moon. Hopefully it doesn't look like with a croissant, but I'll have to see. Okay, I just made for 20 of the croissant. I'm just going to cover with some more plastic wrap. I'm going to rise it at room temperature for 50 minutes, 50. Don't forget to preheat your oven for 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I almost forgot this. I just beat 1 egg with 2 teaspoons of water into the bowl. Get that to fluff it over. I forgot to mention to brush it first before I cover with plastic wrap to rise. I'm going to make that real quick. Hopefully it seems the butter is melting inside the dough so fast. It comes really warm. Let me just brush it one more time with more of the egg wash. And I preheat it for 400. I just turn it off real quickly and I make sure to just watch it really carefully. And I didn't know why those puff pastry is supposed to be like that. And I tried to, and this butter got spread out and squish over. So I just turned back the oven for 400. And I'm going to bake this and I'm going to see how long it takes. When you brush that real twice, you're going to bake this for 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm going to put it for 25 minutes and see how it goes for you. I'm not quite sure the croissant's going to be, doesn't really matter. But I have to see how it works though. I'll come back and show you how it looks. That is just almost there for, after it's just baked for 25 minutes, I can see this butter dripping over. I pick up using with the tongs and I get those squeezy over, probably leaks it from the dough. I just took it out after it's 400 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to put it on the rack. Now I just put it on the wire rack to let it rest after at room temperature for 30 minutes. Like I said, already done that before. Okay, I get this greasy off from the bottom. And I remove that. I usually line with a paper towel, you know, wipe it over. I just transfer for the basket and it could be ready to serve warm. And here you go. Homemade croissant. I tried for the puff pastry, it might be harder than a long time. So if you love to eat croissant, just write me down in the comments below if you want to say something. Always have to make sure to be always before sharing. Just give it a big thumbs up and hope you guys enjoy, I guess.